All right, it's happened. It's happened, guys. I'm the guy who can't build his PC anymore. As you might see, my dusty Fractal North case here is empty. Why, you might ask? Let's just say electricity and me don't particularly go well together. And I think I'm past the point where I can build my own PCs. And I've tried a lot of things to get this thing to work. I even tried putting my GPU in the oven to re-melt the metal inside, whatever that means. Apparently I'm well beyond that in terms of technical capacity, so on to newer and better things. With that, here's my new replacement from Quoted Tech, and no, I did not build it myself. The actual professionals did. Now, this video actually is sponsored by Quoted Tech, but they sent me a demo to play around with for just over a month now, and it's been my main PC. So huge shout out to Quoted Tech, but I've been using it for pretty much everything over the last month and a bit. And again, I don't think I'm ever gonna go back to building my own PC. So with my newfound perspective on gaming PCs, it begs the question, A, should you build your own PC? B, should you have a custom PC built for you? Or C, should you get a pre-built? And I know there's a lot of passionate people out there who absolutely love building their PCs. I used to be one of them. But before you pitchfork me, just know not everybody has the technical capacity to build their own PC, and some people just simply don't want to. And like I mentioned, I've slowly just become that guy. But since my Quoted Tech maple syrup brothers in arms are also Canadian, I will be personally paying out of pocket to rebuild my entire PC with an RTX 4090. So if you guys have recommendations on what should go into that build, leave them down below. I'm actually not joking, please. I'm not the technical guy I used to be, so let me know what CPU I should go for. I will be using my RTX 4090, but let me know what else should go into it. I'm open to suggestions. Now, what's the problem here, and why is it that I think pre-builds or custom builds are probably the way going forward? Honestly, the first reason is, like I mentioned, I used to be personally very proficient when it comes down to building PCs, going way back to high school all the way through up until, say, I don't know, 2016 is probably the last time I actually built something. And frankly, I haven't really just kept up with the tech behind it all. I don't know which gen is which sockets go where, which motherboards are compatible, which power supply I need to drive the whole thing, and everything else in between there. And I know building a PC can sometimes be somewhat of a Lego building process, but again, it's a matter if those Lego pieces fit in the first place, and that's the knowledge I no longer have. And honestly, frankly, I don't know if it's age, interest, apathy, or some mix of it all, but for me, I think going forward, getting a custom built or pre-built is probably the way for me anyways. For myself, at least, I will just sit there and stare at PC Part Picker for hours and simply get overwhelmed trying to build something out. You get a compatibility check, the power supply might not be proficient, the sockets might not fit, the clearance inside the case. If that sounds familiar, you might know some of that frustration. So yeah, between actually having to pick all the parts, having to actually source them all, make sure they're all compatible, then you gotta get it all into one spot and then build it all, put it together, and then eventually, the first boot up, you're getting a blue screen, or not even that. Or if you're like me, an electrical shock. And the thing about that whole process, if that all sounds fun to you, you're probably the person who should probably be building your PC anyways, because you might be enjoying that entire process, unlike myself. But for somebody like myself who's more a normie now, if you want to call it that, is that a bad thing to say? I don't know. I'll just say it, I'm a normie at this point, so I'd rather just have the professionals do it right. With that, rightfully, you might think about pricing and where it sort of looks like when you get to a systems integrator like Quoted Tech, and it's most definitely a valid question. So whether or not it's more expensive or whether it's even worth it, here's the thing, pricing might totally be dependent on the build you're trying to get in the first place and how you want to customize it. Quoted Tech, for example, does have some points you can sort of just start from, where you can either take the build as it is or customize it to your liking. In my case, at least, the PC I've been using over the last month and a bit is one of the presets they have called the Frontier Ultra, which runs about 2,000 bucks US without any sort of sale pricing, discounting, or whatever else. And if I toss every single one of those parts into PCPartPicker.ca with conversion and stuff, it ends up being closer to 1,800 bucks. And that's without considering any sort of individual shipping you might need to handle, tools, thermal paste, ties, and all the fun stuff that goes into building your PC. So if I was to guesstimate, maybe put a plus 3 to 5% on that entire price point. And I will leave a chart here up on screen somewhere, and this is by far just a really quick glimpse at what some of these builds would cost if you did want to build it out yourself. So yeah, if that 3 to 10% difference in pricing means a whole lot to you, just keep that in terms of your consideration on whether or not you want to build your own PC or have someone else do it for you. And again, that's most definitely going to change depending on the system you're actually building out and any sort of fluctuations in pricing naturally. For example, the base shield competition option from Quotatech is actually about 8% less than what I found on Part Picker. So that actually sounds pretty good. And if I throw in the parts that I want for a 4090 build with the AMD chip and all the fun stuff, I end up being about 2% less. So the fact is that they're that close enough for me. That one's an obvious no-brainer in my use case. Add in the fact that I only have to carry one singular warranty, not one for AMD, one for Intel, one for Fractal, one for my PSU. Nope, just one single warranty, 3 years parts and 5 years labor. Plus, I don't have to build my PC myself. For my senior citizen millennial gamer self, that is an absolute steal, so I'm all for it. So yeah, most definitely, depending on your build, it can be a little bit more pricey or actually a bit cheaper. It definitely comes down to A, your budget, and B, how much your time is actually worth to you. Now, as for my actual use case on any of my PC builds, it's primarily going to come down to gaming, and more recently actually getting back into streaming, which has been a really good time. For me, as much as I love my console gaming with the new PS5 Pro and everything in between, when it comes down to any sort of competitive gaming, that's definitely going to be on PC. Now, it's been an actual while since I peaked in Overwatch, but I do flex that I was once a top 5 competitor, which honestly can't really be that hard because I've heard only like 600 people play Overwatch now. Still, even for my system, which I will leave the specs up here on screen, I am pushing some solid frames and I've had 0 issues so far. And again, even while streaming and gaming, I've had 0 issues. Some of the examples I play is obviously Overwatch, and I'm locking that at a solid 240 FPS. Diablo 4, I'm floating above 120 FPS depending on where I'm at in-game plus my in-game settings. And Red Dead 2, I've got a solid 90 FPS plus. And as apprehensive as I was to crack this thing open to check it out, I did have to film some footage here so you can see what it looks like. And of course, naturally, it's absolutely immaculate. It cable managed to perfection, airflow to the max. And while I don't personally test airflows or temps or any of that stuff, I do know Quotatech actually individually stress tests their machines. That means it's not like mass or batch tested with a bunch of other systems, just one set of hands per system. And you might be wondering, what's the bloatware situation like? Absolutely none. 0. Not even a single thing on there I found was a bloat. So yeah, this is pretty much a fresh build you would make yourself with 0 bloatware. So I am happy to see that. Now with all this, I can say I'm a different person than I was 8 years ago when I used to build my PCs. Like I mentioned, I don't know what's what anymore when it comes down to the world of tech, I guess. As much as this is a tech channel, again, I do sort of lean more into the normal user side of things, despite loving my competitive gaming. With that, I think I'm at peace knowing that I'll personally pay a little bit more for the convenience or simply just the surety that my system's going to be solid and not built by my hands. And of course, depending on the build you actually make, you might actually end up saving money on your build. For me, I just really don't want to fry my motherboard again or bend CPU pins because let's face it, I'm a normie now and that's the reality. With that, you should also consider when to get something from Quotatech versus actually building your own PC. In my seasoned, aged opinion, is aged a word? Aged? In my seasoned, aged opinion, I think if you are really one of those people that really does enjoy building the PC process from start to finish, picking your parts, getting it all in, putting it all together, then obviously you're gonna wanna build your PC. For example, I love making my lattes at home. I dig choosing my beans. I love the process of making a latte start to finish. And I love at the end, I pull a perfect shot of espresso and I know I made that the way I wanted to make it. And with that, you'll probably never catch me at a Starbucks buying a latte despite the convenience. For anybody else though, like a first-time PC buyer, there's definitely a peace of mind knowing Quotatech systems are well made, warranted, and pretty much set and forget systems. And then there's somebody like myself who loves a custom build. So I will let Quotatech take my parts that I want, they'll put it all together properly, and I do get the system that I want to enjoy. I'll pick my case, I'll pick my parts and everything in between that they have available on their site, and call it a day and let them take care of the rest. But let me know what you guys think. I truly need your suggestions on what I should be putting into my PC build, whether I should be going AMD or Intel, and I will be throwing an RTX 4090 in there, so keep an eye out for that video. Again, thanks to Quotatech for lending me this demo over the last couple months. It's been an absolute blast. I will catch you guys in the next one. Till next time.